Hello students. So this is a question from trees, okay, and it's a 2 marks question. Okay. So let's read the question first. Consider the below program code. So there is a function f which is given to us. The argument of the function is pointer pointing to a node of type tree node. Okay. So the code within the function is we are taking a variable integer value. So if pointer double equals to null, so whatever pointer we are passing, so if it is not pointing to anyone, return 0. Else, read the info or the data field of that node into the variable val value. Okay, and then check the condition. If value modulo 2 double equals to 0, so that means if the info field of the node is even, so in that case return value plus. Now we are recursively calling this function, so recursive call on the left subtree and recursive call on the right subtree. And if that value is odd, it is not even, then in that case just return the recursive call to the left subtree and recursive call to the right subtree. Okay, and the question is, what does this function return on the following tree? So this is the tree which is given to us. So we are passing a pointer to the root. Okay, so let's assume that our pointer is pointing to root, so it is here. Okay, so now we'll execute this code. So the pointer is not null, that means it will go into the else part. So this is nothing but the else part. Okay, so value equals to data field of this node. So what is value? So value equals to 2. Okay, so which is even value, so we will again go into this if part. Okay, and what it will return? It will return 2 plus f of left subtree. So for simplicity I am writing the value of the node. So let's say f of 3. So when I say f of 3, it is the left subtree or the subtree rooted on the left side of this node. Okay, plus f of right subtree, so that is nothing but it is 6. Okay, so this return statement will call recursively the same function with the pointer pointing at this node. Okay, so now we'll execute the same function with pointer pointing here. Okay, and whatever results comes, so whatever will be the result, so let's assume that this is my result, that result will be returned back to this function. Okay, so now because this number is odd, it will go into this else part. Okay, and it will return f of 11 plus f of 51. Okay, so this will again call the left subtree with pointer pointing here. Okay, so 11 is again odd number, so this will return what? F of 23 plus f of null, because the right subtree or there is no right node here, so it is f of null. So now to resolve this call, we will call f of 23, so which is this node, so pointer is pointing here, and f of 23, because 23 is odd number, it will go into the else part and it will be f of null plus f of null, because there is no left and right node, because 23 is a root node. So when I'm passing now when I'm calling this function with pointer pointing to null, it will return me 0. So if pointer p double equals to null, then return 0. So the result of this call is 0. This is also 0. So 0 plus 0 is 0. So that value will be written here. So this will become 0, and f of null will again become 0. So the answer to this call f11 is 0. So this is 0. And now we'll call this particular subtree. Now we'll call this particular subtree. Okay, so now my pointer is pointing here 51. Okay, so we'll call here, because it is odd number, we'll call f of 17 plus f of null. So because the right side there is no node here, the right link of the node 51 is null, so we'll call f of null, which is nothing but it is 0. Okay, so now we'll call f of so this is This is the result of calling f of 51. Okay. So now we'll call f of 17 where my root is pointing to this node, and as a result of that, because 17 is odd number, will return f of null, okay, which is nothing but it is 0 plus f of 78. Okay. So now we have to resolve this call. So f of 78 is even number, so my root is pointing here now, and what will happen? It will return 78 plus f of left subtree of 78, which is null because 78 is leaf node, and f of right subtree of 78, which is again null because it is a leaf node. So 78 plus 0, so this is nothing but it is 78. So this 78 value will be returned to f of 17. So this is nothing but it is 78. So 78 plus 0, that is f of 51. Okay, so that 78 value will be written here. So this is 0 plus 78. That is the result of calling f of 3. So the result here is 78, and this value will be written here. So 2 plus 78. Okay. Now we will call the same function with pointer pointing to this node, which is 6. So because it is even number, it will be resolved to 6 plus f of 60 plus f of 7. Okay. So now we are calling the same function with pointer pointing to 60. So my pointer is pointing here. So because 60 is even number, it will return 60 plus f of 70 plus the right subtree is 0. So plus 0. Okay. So now I have to resolve this call. So f of 70, I'll call the same function with pointer pointing to 70. So now my pointer is pointing here. So what it will return? It will return 70 plus f of 73 plus my left subtree is 0. So null, f of null, which is nothing but it is 0. Okay. So to resolve this call, so this will be the result of f of 70. Okay, so to resolve this call, I have to call f of 73, but f of 73 is odd number, so it will return the right subtree of 73 and left subtree of 73, the sum of those two. But because it is leaf node, the answer of this will be 0. So 70 plus 0 plus 0, so that will be returned as a result here. So 60 plus 70 plus 0, which is nothing but 130. So that 130 value will be written here. Okay, and now we'll call f of 7. So f of 7, so my pointer is pointing here, and because it is an odd number, I will call f of 14 plus 0. This is 0 because the left subtree here is null, so f of null is nothing but it is 0. So now when I am calling f of 14, the result of this call will be 14 because it is an even number, so it will return 14 plus left subtree and right subtree. Recursive call to the left subtree and right subtree, but because it is a leaf node, this left subtree and right subtree, there is no left subtree and right subtree, so the result of this f of 14 is 14. So we will return this f of 14 here. So this is nothing but it is 14. So it is 14 plus 6 plus 130, which is nothing but it is 150. Okay, so the result of the final result is 2 plus 78 plus 150, which is nothing but 230. So that is the solution of this question. Okay, and from the question also you can see that when my number is even, I am returning value plus recursive call to the left subtree and recursive call to the right subtree. And when my number is odd, I am just returning the sum of recursive call to the left subtree and recursive call to the right subtree. So from this much code, you can see that it is returning the sum of even nodes or sum of the even nodes. So when I say even nodes, I mean the nodes which have even keys. The numbers which are there in the node are even. Okay, so the solution to this question is 230. Thank you.